So you're gonna get a part B because I don't know how to upload, I don't know how to take this video and put it on my desktop and then upload it to Instagram from there, because I found out I could do an hour-long one. Like, what? So I'm gonna try and figure that out. But Instagram, if you do a mobile upload, it cuts you off at 15 minutes. So I just did it just under that. Anyway, so they come in contact with. So what I was going to tell you is, I'm not sure if you're aware, but in my research into Hitler, I found out that he had these like concrete pads, and I believe they were circular. I think they had like these little pillar thingies or whatever. It's been years since I looked into that. But anyway, he was doing teleportation, and he actually teleported himself from one pad to the next. And so that's another theory that they believe that he was able to escape. But also what they did was they created a saucer type deal, a flying saucer type thing. And you can see footage, there's black and white footage of him with this little, like, well, I mean, it's on the screen as little, but it was a bigger compared to them saucer. And it has these like little legs, like to hold it up or whatever. And it's kind of like bouncing, like you're doing, and they're all like happy and elated. He knew some stuff, okay? He had access to the best scientists. And some of them may have been there because they wanted to be, but then others, you know, they were there because they were forced to be there. But anyway, carrying on, base 211. Oh yeah, this is continuation. So this is part B of Lone Wolf Alpha Squad copy over by James Rink of day 4. And this is his story. Base 211 Neuschwabenland. Neuschwabenland. In addition to the Nazi moon base, base 211 in Queen Maud Land, Antarctica, MAUD Land, Antarctica, was founded in 1938, and the beginning of the war base 211 was in the beginning stages of construction inside abandoned caverns that previously contained an ancient civilization. 4 months later, the Nazis were ready to invade Poland. Germany had now paid off their international bank loans and were bartering with other countries for goods and supplies, and they also managed to get rid of their central banks. As a result, the KZB banking cabal declared war on them. By 1940, the Antarctic base had 300,000 people living there, serviced by German U-boats. They used geothermal energy to power their facilities and then later free energy. Also, the Draco wanted the tech of ancient ruins in the area, as Antarctica used to be an ancient Atlantean outpost prior to the continent sinking into the Atlantic. Near the end of the war, Hitler, realizing the Allied forces may win the Second World War, executed a contingency escape plan, allowing many Germans to escape to South America and Antarctica. When the war was going badly for the Germans, the Neuschwabenlanders in Antarctica, as they called themselves, viewed Hitler as insane and decided against providing any war support to the Reich. After the Nazis were kicked out of mainland Europe, Antarctic Germans, in parentheses AGs, began pressuring the cabal into a ceasefire. General Eisenhower and Patton went into some of the underground Nazi bases and were utterly shocked at how advanced the Nazis were. I bet they were. To garner the cooperation of captured Nazi scientists and engineers, the cabal agreed to give Germany the equivalent of $1 quadrillion. My God, US, in modern day dollars, in debt forgiveness, as well as a Marshall Plan to rebuild the motherland. Operation High Jump. In 1946 to 47, Operation High Jump, headed by U.S. Navy Admiral Richard Byrd, B-Y-R-D. Wonder if there's any relation to Robert C. Byrd, the nasty man, was tasked with a massive assault on the German base 211 in Antarctica, which ended in near annihilation for the American forces as they were met with astonishing weaponry. A ceasefire was initiated, allowing the Nazis time to fortify their defenses. The Nazis had advanced technology, but their fleet of anti-gravitic saucers, I told you, I just said that, wow, was just too small in numbers, as well as their population, to fight the entire world. Between 1945 and 1948, the Nazis began infiltrating all world governments. These Nazis made an oath to resurrect a Fourth Reich in America known as Project Omega, National Security Council, and MJ-12. Around this time, the Roswell UFO crash took place, resulting in new media leaks about advanced technology and aliens. To control the narrative, the National Security Council and MJ-12 were created to wrestle control of the alien presence away from the Department of Defense and the military. Once the NSC was established, they recruited their man, George Bush Sr., to persuade Congress into creating a secret Gestapo police presence in the United States, known as the Office of Strategic Service, or the OSS. 2 years later, in 1947, it became the CIA. Oh man, with the CIA in power, the Nazis initiated Operation Mockingbird, which would embed CIA agents into the media in order to control the narrative and to prevent further leaks from occurring. Project Paperclip. Once the partnership between the cabal and the Nazis were solidified, under Project Paperclip, roughly 50,000 Nazi scientists from all over post-war Germany were imported into the United States under secret identities to continue their research. All of this was on a need-to-know basis, and as far as the public was concerned, the CIA was working to make the world safer. Holy shnikes. In March 1947, a month after Operation High Jump ended in failure, Truman sought measures to prevent a Nazi coup from taking place in the U.S. He signed Executive Order 9835, requiring all federal employees to be vetted by the FBI to test their loyalties. Later in 1950 to 1954, Senator McCarthy, McCarthy, was tasked with tracking down more Antarctic and paperclip Nazis. All the while, public was told the communists were the big bad wolf. Together with Nikola Tesla's, it says Nicholas Tesla's technology, stolen loot from the Jews and their secret police force headed by George Bush Sr., the Fourth Reich forged their master plan and the final solution, which would bring about a fascist Nazi government in the United States under the heels of martial law, doing away with the Constitution. But the cabal bloodline banking families wanted nothing to do with this Nazi New World Order, as they wanted to continue enslaving the world with their mystery Babylon magic fiat currencies. A secret Cold War had now commenced between the cabal and the Nazis. The Nazis then initiated Operation Windmill to begin negotiations of ceasefire to buy more time. The Nazis also wanted the cabal to recognize the Antarctic Germans as a sovereign nation and for their identity to be kept secret, as the Antarctica Germans didn't want the world's people to panic and pressure their governments into using the new technology of nuclear bombs in Antarctica. By this time, the Germans had time travel, I knew it, and interdimensional travel technology, and was able to witness an alternate reality in which the cabal detonated a cobalt bomb in 1949, which burned up the entire planet. Yeah, that's a bad thing. The cabal agreed to these terms, as they also didn't want a nuclear annihilation, and they didn't want the Germans to go public with their very advanced technology, such as free energy, which would make their fiat monetary systems obsolete, relinquishing their power over the masses. The Germans, who promised to help advance the cabal by teaching them theory but not technology. Once a truce was made, 300,000 or so Antarctic Germans began to infiltrate the world economy. The cabal also allowed the Nazis to become embedded into thousands of corporations, Ivy League schools, defense contractors, research hospitals, banks, embassies, etc., all of which required at least one senior-level German executive. My God. These Germans would be given fast track to upper management. A joint venture was now in the works, but the peace would be an uneasy one. In the deep underground military bases, paperclip Nazis and the cabal, who allied themselves with the Nazis, would hide in luxurious surroundings. Money to build these underground facilities would at first come from stolen loot from the Jews, and then CIA drug trafficking and stolen money via the black budget. Tesla weapons and the technology recovered, UFOs and alien exchanges, would ensure their technological superiority. Here in their underground strongholds, they continued their research. Lunar Operations Command. According to Jason Rice, in 1947, the Germans also began building out their 20-acre moon base in Draco territory known as Lunar Operations Command. As per the lease agreement, the Germans agreed to give the Draco 225 females and a 25-year refusal rights for new technology, limiting what technologies the Germans were allowed to have access to. When the Draco came to collect on their deal, they would freeze these women and later bring them out of stasis to mutilate, traumatize, or kill them. The ones who survived would have had their memories erased due to memory alternation technology. This began a very dark, slippery slope of trading humans on planet Earth for technology, a problem which would only grow bigger over time. And I wonder if this is all on the dark side of the moon. By 1952, the Germans had lost 1,000 people building out their moon base due to their harsh environment and the difficult conditions the Draco were placing them in. In the early 1950s, the Germans were also busy building out their new Berlin bases on Mars and on the asteroid of Ceres, as well as Titan. Mars colony. According to Peter the Insider, Mars was initially colonized in the 1450s from cyborgs from our future. The 1950s, Germans time traveled to Paradise Mars in 1863 and set up colonies and began enslaving the local cyborg populations. The cyborgs wanted to have their own rights similar to humans, but they were treated as a subrace, so the cyborgs decided to destroy everything they didn't like. As a result, the cyborgs dropped a cobalt bomb on Mars in the year 1900, which decimated the environment. Prior to the year 1900, the biome on Mars was a tropical paradise and more comfortable than even on planet Earth. And I wonder if that's where the Terminator series comes from. From 1900 to 1950, the environment on Mars began to slowly mend itself, but it was still an extremely harsh climate. The atmosphere is very breathable. It's equivalent to being in high altitude region of Earth, about 12,000 feet. The sky has a very light blue tint due to its high CO2 content within the air. To help with physical endurance, soldiers would wear patrol suits that would provide supplemental oxygen by immediately splitting the CO2 from the O2 and spit out carbon pellets out of the back of the suit. Additionally, there are very dangerous life forms on Mars, such as 7-foot-tall spiders, which could outrun a human. Whistleblower Andrew Basiago, Basiago, has shared testimony of seeing giant, bust-sized grasshoppers in equatorial Mars, which are very fast and predatory. Man. Also, the cobalt bomb left an open wormhole to the year 1550 on Paradise Mars that was causing the people who lived underground and on the surface at that time to lose their memories. By 1950, Mars was safe enough to be inhabited again, provided all living structures were built underground. Initially, settlements were built in the equatorial regions of Mars, but moved to a more northern and southern latitude in the ancient lava tubes. Equatorial Mars was often plagued with huge electrical storms that would wreak havoc on their electronics. During this time, the Nazis lost 17,000 troops of their fittest and strongest stock in off-world conflicts. This may not seem like a lot of people, but considering there were only 300,000 Antarctic Germans now, roughly 1 out of every 20 were dead. To fix their personnel problems, German UFO sightings were increased to put pressure on the Truman administration and the cabal to negotiate new treaty terms. Examples included a July 1952, a mass Nazi UFO sighting occurring over the White House. Also, some military pilots were seeing human pilots piloting these UFOs. Secret negotiations began to be discussed for a joint American-Nazi SSP, or secret space program. This would ultimately create the shadow government and a massive military-industrial complex led by MJ-12. And I'm telling you, Mars is already colonized, and they're literally making us think that we're going to be doing something by taking people to Mars. Honey, they've already been there, done that, got more than the t-shirt. Anyway, till tomorrow. Don't go ahead and meet again. Love you, man.